Oh, that could be why. Oh, that could be why. Okay, now we're back. Oh, that could be why. Okay, now we're back. Oh, that could be why. Okay, now we're back. Okay, now we're back. Okay. Nice. Okay. That was getting so annoying. What up, Yib? How have you been? I think you should be able to hear me now. You did message me on Discord. Funny enough, I'm actually doing I started retail again, dude. I'm doing it to like knock out all those story bits that I haven't like finished up yet. Yeah. I know. The mighty have fallen, right? No, I mean I just wanted to knock out the story stuff. I'm probably not gonna go too hard on it. But with it being the 20th anniversary and all, to be honest, I thought they were gonna do a lot more. It felt like they were gonna do a lot more. It doesn't seem like that's the way it's going. And I had to I'm gonna refresh this again, but they weren't even like answering a ton of questions. They had like 3 hours beforehand to answer questions for the AMA. I mean, this is like the 20th anniversary AMA. Like, throw us a bone. But they weren't really like an hour and a half in, and there wasn't much. It was a little sketched. But you know, whatever. Here we are. One thing that's pretty cool though, I will say. Yeah, so it's funny. You just nailed it. This is something I think would be a great thing, and the fact that they actually acknowledge that they're considering this for the future, is huge, right? Because, like, since the 20th anniversary, I've seen a bunch of people, whether it be on Reddit or like Facebook groups, whether it be the Final Fantasy XIV Facebook group, one of the two of them, the big ones, I mean, or even the Final Fantasy XI, like the main Facebook group, and then even like on Twitter and stuff too. I've seen people talking about like they were playing 14 or like they're coming over from WoW and they were trying 11 and they were actually shocked at like how much they were enjoying it. And then too, like how they always like how everyone always says that MMOs don't have stories, and then they were shocked to find out that 11 actually has like a decent story, and that they were kind of getting addicted to it. I mean, obviously for us that have played it, we're like, yeah, no shit. We've, you know, like 14 wasn't the first one to allow one character to change class. Like all these things that all these WoW players are coming over and saying like, oh, wow, this is crazy. This is the first time we're ever seeing this. Like, no, that shit's been around since before WoW technically, but whatever. I don't know. It's just nice to see that like there are 14 players who like, because you gotta like we always kind of forget, like, and even I do too, 100%. I really like 14's story. I think the lore for 14 is really good, way better than I ever like gave it credit for when I first started, because I don't know, the combat and shit, and A Realm Reborn without any context was just not doing it for me. But the story and lore is like incredible. I think there are some players though that aren't like ultra casual, but that aren't like, you know, they're not. Final Fantasy XI doesn't necessarily even have to be hardcore either. Even if you play like classic, you can casually play it. I've done it. But there are people that kind of just want like a fun, different experience with something that's a little bit more technical, something that they can actually sink their teeth into, like with customizing gear and stats and stuff like that. I think Final Fantasy XI, especially now that we have like all the texture pack mods and such. Yeah, well, that's true. It is such a grind, but like Well, so let me ask you, what's the difference, right? There, the difference between grinding dungeons in 14, just spamming dungeons, like the only thing that's really different is that one, you're tied to an instance, which has to take a certain amount of time. Um, which in like let's say you're playing DPS, right? 9 times out of 10, it's still going to take you 15 minutes to party up. It was hilarious because like when I was doing private servers after the one that we were on, um, dude, party times on like Wings or even Nosomi back in the day, and then what's the other one? Eden parties. I mean, every once in a while, yeah, you catch that like bad break, like parties kind of taking a while to like get together, but I was so shocked at like how casually I could play. I was playing like maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, because my job was like pretty busy, and it wouldn't even be for that long, and I was like making like decent progress into the game, and that was on a classic server. Um, like again, kind of going back to that difference in grind, right? The only difference in like the level grind in 11 versus 14 is that 14 you're stuck in that instance. With the battle pages, it really makes things quicker. Yeah, that's true. But there was also like when I did the Nosomi thing, there was no pages. Funny enough, no pages at all. And it's just like with 14, you get like the shiny thing that says like, oh, you completed the dungeon, oh, you leveled up, oh, this, and it's like it happens a lot quicker. But the only difference is like in 11, you just don't get that. But you do get more player interaction. Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. Still had the EverQuest. Well, you know what's funny about this, and maybe you knew this. I didn't know this. Yeah, exactly. You don't need to communicate. But going back to your previous comment, I didn't know this until like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Um, I was reading something, and I forgot it was some kind of interview. I did not know that Square Enix for Final Fantasy 11, because they knew they could make a one-player RPG game, right? And they knew they could make story, and they had like general mechanics down, right? They had all the jobs, they had the magics, they had the stats, they had all these things to like, they had all the pieces for an MMO, but they weren't really sure they knew how to craft an MMO properly. They actually hired some of the top EverQuest devs um, to make Final Fantasy 11. I had no clue. It explains why like certain things like crossed over, and I want to say WoW, Blizzard. I think Blizzard did the same thing, and it's my buddy who plays EverQuest. Like even to this day, he was telling me he's like when I was talking about like the death mechanics in 14, he's like, oh, that's not so bad. We lost experience points and we had to go back and run to our body. So it's just funny that like in 11 they took half of that death mechanic, like they were like, oh, ours is going to be more casual. It's only going to be half as bad as EverQuest. And WoW kind of did the same thing, except for instead of a loss of experience points, your armor deteriorated, and then you had to run back to your body. Exciting meaning in the easy. Oh, interesting. I see. I didn't know that either. Um, that makes a ton of sense, though. It's crazy. So in the first half of the Yoshi P interview as well, um, Yoshi P talks about like all this is kind of it's super funny to me because a lot of people want to shit on Tanaka, and they forget that like he was paramount in making 11, and he was paramount in making like other Final Fantasy games, Square Enix games actually in total. Um, like they forget that, and they just all they really do is look at like the 1.0 blunder, which let's be fair, any comp like it's not like he's a dummy. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some shit that was probably inexcusable that he was trying to sweep under the rug. But I assume that conversation with the higher ups probably went like, or like the investors, it probably went something like, "Hey, we're not even close to ready," and they were just like, "Push out whatever you've got, and we'll figure it out later," or like, "Put it in a minimal state, and we'll figure it out." And then, you know, none of the rest of the stuff really came out. It was all on Tanaka's ass, so to speak, and the other guy, who also came from 11. But Tanaka, way back in the day when Yoshi P, I think it was making like, I want to say it was like the Dragon Quest MMO. I could be, I know it never came out, right? I don't think it ever came out. this is when Yoshi P was a contractor for Enix. This is before the merger. Um, Yoshi P was having a really hard time creating this MMO. He finally did make it. It was like he completed it, and then they were like, okay, well, this needs to go onto PlayStation 2 as well, just like Final Fantasy 11. And he was like, "Are you kidding me? Like they barely were able to make it like function as it was." They weren't joking apparently, and they like pushed him to do it, and then apparently it was just like it wouldn't even run. Like there was just so many problems. And Yoshi P said that even today, Final Fantasy 11 has the best garbage collection system that he's ever seen. So, and apparently the story goes that when the merger happened, all the top heads at Square Enix at the time, including Tanaka, actually invited, which I think it was maybe led by Tanaka. It's the way he kind of framed it. Invited Yoshi P to headquarters, and Tanaka was the one that was like, "Hey, we heard you're having problems with this. You seem very competent, and we have a lot of faith in you and your new project, and we want it to be as good as Final Fantasy 11. Is there anything we can help you out with?" And again, remember, he was like a contractor at the time. He said, Yoshi P was like, "Well, your garbage collection would help us out a ton with our memory issues." And Tanaka was just like, apparently was just like, "Yeah, no problem. Like, what else do you need? Is that it?" And like, he was just willing to go like above and beyond for Yoshi P. So it's funny because he actually bailed Yoshi P out of his own like little fiasco and disaster back in the day. And apparently, like when that whole 1.0 thing happened, Yoshi P felt like he really owed Tanaka, and Tanaka was the one that even asked Yoshi P personally if he would take over 11 because he was thinking about leaving the company. Or maybe it was like, that's the way he framed it. It was probably more like an inevitability at that point. But it's just super interesting. And then even like Yoshi P said that he made Final Fantasy 14 the way he did, because he thought that Tanaka's vision was like so great that he could never fill those shoes. It's really interesting, and that was only part 1, so I'm super stoked to see like part 2, because not a lot of people even thought that Yoshi P liked Final Fantasy 11, and yeah, he kind of pushed it to 1.0, but I'm curious as to what his thoughts are. As weird as 1.0 was, I wouldn't mind a 1.0 private server or something. I remember beta testing 1.0. Yib, you and I can talk about that. There is actually, there's not necessarily a server that's up, but I'm connected to a Discord for a group of people that are in the process of making 1.0 in the guise of like 1.23, I believe. They just got like all of Old Gridania. Like apparently they've gotten like all of the NPCs working and shit, which is incredible. They've been, the main guy, I've talked to him a couple times. He said he's been working on this since like 2013. So apparently he hit the ground running with this project like the second like 2.0 started. My guess is, he hadn't told me this, but my guess from that is like he played 2.0 and was like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be." Because like even I've gone back to like the old forums and stuff, and I've read that like there was a ton of people who, and it not even just on the old forums actually, when I made posts about the 20th anniversary in the Final Fantasy 14 community, or I found like old screenshots from 1.0 and made posts in Final Fantasy 14, the bigger Facebook group. I was actually 100%. I was so shocked at how many people said that 1.23 wasn't so bad and it was a really cool experience, and they wouldn't have minded like even just being able to go back and play that experience because it wasn't that bad. There were still some annoying things, but that a lot of the really annoying things were kind of cut out and fixed by that point. It is super interesting. I didn't expect so many people to come out and say that. But like I said, apparently enough people thought that was the case. So there's a whole like big community of people that have been working to like reestablish 1.23 as it was. And it's great too. It's kind of a bummer on Square Enix, right? Because when it comes to 14, it's like that shit's still canon for the most part, and like there's literally like, again, I quit when I started playing 14 like a Realm Reborn, and I quit at like level 35 or something. I just couldn't do it the first time around. I had some friends tell me the story got way better, but like I started in Stormblood, and then like I didn't start playing again till like right before Shadowbringers was launched. Um, well, the thing is, so here's the thing about that, right? I hate the dungeon spam. I really do. And then on top of that, like when I first started, it was at the point of the game where people didn't want to like let me take in the lore or like let me take in any of the information, like why things were the way they were. So all I knew is because people were trying to rush this shit. All I knew is that I just had to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. Yeah, you and I think literally did the exact same thing. I'm not even joking. Yeah. So it's funny though because I've actually found I'm on, what is it? It's Crystal Goblin. I think that's how it is. But yeah, I am like Notorious, Primal Leviathan. Gotcha. Um, well, it's funny because the FC I'm with, um, the there's some people in there who've played 11, so it's kind of like it's a cool like little community of people that, I mean, most of them are like ultra casual now. They're like very much the 11 players who, in my honest opinion, who maybe weren't as fond of 11. Like they have like the anti nostalgia goggles, like where they go, like they hate it more than they actually should, in my opinion. But they do miss some factors of it. And then I have some people who I think are actually going to try 11 now, thanks to hearing me kind of talk about it. And then like for each job, I've pretty much gotten like these gear sets that replicate or like look like gear sets that like 11 would have. Like before they had Reaper come out in 14, I was like, it was stupid, but I paid for the scythe weapon for my Dark Knight. And then I created like an armor set that looked like the Dark Knight set, or relatively close to the Dark Knight set for, I would cry trying to go back to retail. I stopped it. Wings of the Goddess. Yeah, so look, like I said, I'm going back for the story. I don't, truth be told, I think I'll level my I'll get my character stats up to a point to where if they add any more story bits, I can continue on and not have to worry about it. And then on top of that too, actually, yeah, to be fair, to be 100% fair, I've added all, and I'll probably show that here in a little bit. I don't know, I might have to do some work stuff tonight, to be honest, after all this, but I've added all of the graphic mods and stuff, like all of the like the higher end HD texture packs and stuff. And dude, it looks so different. Like night and day different. So it like, on one hand, it feels like I'm re-experiencing everything. Which is cool, right? I mean, that's really how it should be. And then I think too, if I go back to doing like a private server for like, I actually want to grind some shit. I actually like want to do some serious like content and like, but in a fun way. You know, I think I can transfer some of those texture packs from Wings, or from that to Wings. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not quite sure how I want to go about doing this yet. But I'm definitely going to knock out that story, because I want to say it was like Seekers I still need to knock out, and like I didn't touch at all, and then Rhapsodies. So there I am, the old guy in the room. Okay, I'm going to refresh this one more time. Let's see if we can't knock out some of this AMA stuff, because I want to see if they answered any more questions. We are past the time, I believe. What did they say? It should be past the time anyways. So current excise, there's a couple of them that are popular. Yeah, so Nozomi, I think what happened with that is, because I played on Nozomi and I had a really good time, to be honest. That was even before Ninja joined. And when Ninja joined, dude, that bitch was booming. It felt like, minus the fact that you could go to Wiki for everything, it actually felt because there were so many new players that if you started a new job or if you started just like a new character, dude, it felt like it kind of felt like old, like real deal old school. Like you never had to wait for a party. Auction house was booming. Like it was so sick. It was actually really cool. But that being said, I don't know. You and I both kind of used to be in the know about like all the private server drama and stuff, but I think someone in Nozomi, like one of the higher ups, started doing the donation thing, if you know what I'm saying. And I've heard rumors about that. I don't know exactly, but it caused a lot of the population to kind of dip out. I think it was, but I know the guy got help. And to be fair, if you're getting help, I don't like to get those, to incentivize those people to constantly work on a project that actually had like over 1,000 players, right? Like, you know, dude, it was wild. Ninja, like, he literally went, like, he was having like, at one point, he would have like 10,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch, which is like great for Twitch. It's kind of shifting now, but like talk about like 2 or 3 years ago, right? 10,000 concurrent on Twitch was like incredible. And he would start playing like Final Fantasy 11, right? Like to the point where like other streamers were like calling him like a boomer and saying he was like playing Final Fantasy like 2 or something. I don't know. It was kind of funny, but so I don't know if you remember what Graves told us a long time ago, right? Or I don't know if you had that conversation with him, but as far as I know, and it makes total sense with what... Oh, that's interesting. Local Chicago boy. But it makes total sense with what Graves said and what Ninja said. So Ninja apparently had his people reach out to Square Enix. Ninja said he literally said he would throw down what was it? He said something like $1 million. I want to say he said like $1 million to get like a private server going. Because it would have to be official and all that fun bullshit and blah, 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 blah. Which is bonkers. I mean, the guy's got stupid money anyways, but like that's bonkers. And Square Enix told him no. I mean, that came out of Ninja's mouth. He said he reached out. I don't remember the exact money amount. I want to say it was like $1 million. But he said Square Enix just straight up shot him down. So with what I've been told by other private server owners is that Square Enix sends people out to like kind of monitor private servers every now and then. And as long as, yeah, literally, that's funny. So they send people out to monitor these private servers and to make sure they're not competing with retail. As long as they're not competing with retail, they don't care. Now, that is different. I'm pretty sure you and I were playing back in the day long enough ago to see when private servers were getting cease and desist letters. That's literally how Grave got his. I'm pretty positive. So what they would do is they get the cease and desist letter and they would... yeah, exactly. And what they would do is Square Enix would have to play this cat and mouse game because all they would do is, yeah, they would shut down the server from their house, but they would mail it to someone else, and then they would start the server, like some other person in their group, and then whoever got the cease and desist would just be like a moderator / developer of that one, right? And then that again, it was a cat and mouse game. Well, Square Enix, this from what I was told, was that when Square Enix decided to stop doing that, they realized that one, not only were people buying the game, like playing on a private server, because back then they didn't have it set up to where you didn't need to buy the game. There were people who were still buying the game to play at private servers in a lot of cases, and I think there might be maybe one, maybe two like that now. But that was the case. So people were still buying the game, and then people would also then buy the game, which is the case now, because they would be like, oh, well, I actually want to play the rest of the story, aka this idiot right here. And then they would also then sign up for retail, right? And let's be fair, I think that shit's more expensive than 14. So like you're paying a premium for an old game. Again, this idiot right here. So Square Enix like realized, they're like, whoa, we're actually making money off these guys. We don't have to pay for the staff to like maintain these classic era servers. We don't have to like pay to because the code is really complicated, right? They don't have to pay people to figure all that out and figure out what patches were what and all that fun bullshit. Yeah, pretty much Square Enix just found that like it was way easier to go about it that way. That's what I was told, and honest to God, throughout the years, that seems to be consistent, because from every single conversation that I've seen or like had with people online, everything they talk about anecdotally seems to kind of trail back to that funnel. Oh, dude. Yeah. If there's ever... I'm so scared with Square Enix, man. Square Enix freaks me out because they're like the last decent ones to not have microtransactions for everything. It only takes one developer, right? Tanaka was a great guy until he wasn't, right? Yoshi P's a great guy until he's not. It only takes one developer to make Square Enix money with something. And then, yeah, the NFT thing too. They do NFTs in 14? They don't have... You can buy like glam stuff, or like certain mounts and stuff, but it's not like... Yeah. I'm talking like pay to win. And even still, most of the 14 cosmetic stuff isn't really that great. The only things I've gotten from them, like I said, are like the Scythe and the Shintoto, because they're never going to do that Final Fantasy 11 event again. I think it's only because they know that they can just charge me for it. So whatever, they got me with that. It's my nostalgia goggles were on. But yeah, I don't know. Going back to the whole 14 thing, basically what I was saying, A Realm Reborn actually is not that bad if you're following the quests. I'm shocked to find out that like the quests were actually written, like the side quests were actually written really well. For the most part, there are some of those like dumb fetch quests and like some of the dumb like just kill 5 of these and come back and kill another 6 of those and come back and all that fun shit. But it's not hold on a second. Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's not that bad to do it that way. I've actually enjoyed it so much more. I've been leveling Dragoon and getting like the Dragoon glam with like the little dragonette, so it looks like it's from 11. It is as bad as WoW's token, but it's not there. Interesting. Dude, it was such a bummer. So when we played, so you and I started, I think around the same time, or maybe started playing around the same time. I don't, like, however that worked out. But in Stormblood is when they got rid of the, that's not as good. Oh, Freak Show's here. Freak, I'm gonna have to figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, I feel the exact same way. So when we started Stormblood, as far as I knew, there was still elemental like damage and weakness and all that fun stuff. They completely got rid of that. Obviously, I found out later that even still, it wasn't very much. But it's like like I said, that's the thing for me. Like with 14, it's like the gameplay it doesn't feel very good to me. There's some fights that are like kind of fun for like, it just feels way more like a hack and slash type game with combos. It's just not it. And like the experience for me has been that like, it goes back to what I said previously. If they combine the sub for 11 and 14, it seems to me like, from what I've seen from some 14 players who are shocked at how much they like, well, it's not even just like too many combos. It's just like, it's the same things like over and over again. It's like the thing I loved about Final Fantasy 11 is just there's so many different combinations of things that you can do, and it's like it's all it just feels so much better. And I get the argument that some people don't like slow combat. That's fair, but I think that like what we've seen in Bajja and even like Eureka to some degree, I think they could do things just better in 14, and I think people could like eventually get used to like a little bit of harder mechanics, but like it doesn't seem like that's the way they're going. I think they realize that's their cash cow right now, thanks to like Asmongold, and I think that they're just gonna keep making it more and more casual, just get as many people on board as they possibly can. Freak, I love 14's story. I hate the vertical progression. 11 is more of a vertical progression now, but it levels out. Yeah, and that's been like my understanding is like retail, it's changed to be more 14 like, but at the base game it's still 11, right? I need to do Eureka just for the rewards, and yeah. So I ended up getting, I got the cloak and I got the scorpion harness. I kind of wish you could take the hood off the cloak a little bit so I could like duel that with the hat, but it is what it is. I got like Final Fantasy 11 glams for Paladin, for Dark Knight, for Ninja, which I've turned into like a thief look, like completely. If you saw it, it looks just like an 11 thief, except for I'm wearing the Scorpion's harness. And then Dragoon, I've got the Dragonette minion, so it looks like a Dragoon, and then I just have to kind of figure out the rest of the armor for that. But, yay, crappy. Oh, yeah. I know, Freak, I feel bad, man. You were telling me about that. Yeah, so Eureka's still doable. Honest to God, I've been soloing most of it. I know when I get to the end of it, it's like a raid thing, just like Bajja. I think it's structured better for sure. It's just so funny because it's like, I feel like 14, and not only that, Blue Mage, dude. Blue Mage feels like if we had to combine the WoW aspects with like 11 aspects, Blue Mage actually kind of does it really well. And then if they like incorporated more open world shit, it wouldn't feel so bad. Dude, yeah, I kid you not. It's like depressing how much more fun it is. And then it's even more depressing whenever you do all the content for it. Well, okay, so like the elemental wheel is a Eureka thing, but I'm talking like Blue Mage has no wheel. Like the elemental aspects actually matter, unlike they did in like the open world in like Stormblood and Prior. And it's like it feels so much better. Now I think they would have to figure out a way to like, because 14's gear is very like bare bones, like the only thing you think about is eye level, right? So they would have to think about something like almost like how 11 has gear swapping. They would have to do some like elemental swapping, or not element, like skill swapping. Because like, let's say you were set up for like a basic skill attack, like let's say you're a warrior and you had like flame blade or whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called in 11, but something like that, right? And you were gonna fight a mob that was weak to fire, but you didn't have that equipped. Like you could create these like kind of macro settings that would just do that, right? I think that would be super sick. That'd be so cool, but they won't do it. And in fact, Endwalker came out and they've announced a bunch of things, and Blue Mage is still stuck at level 70, and they still haven't announced that they're gonna do anything with Blue Mage. So well, look, that's because you weren't a warrior or a red mage / warrior. That's why you were too lazy. You added the mage sub job, if I remember correctly. Listen, it takes skill to be a red mage / warrior. All right, look, we don't play around here. We don't take the easy route, obviously. Eureka is cool though to get the gear. Dude, who was it? Oh, I don't remember the name on that server. But literally, because if you remember correctly, I had Dragoon/Blue. Honest to God, I wouldn't even know how to start going about that. That sounds harder. I'll give you that one. I wouldn't even know how to go about making that one optimal. Dude, with Red Mage, there was another Red Mage/Warrior on the old private server that me and Yiblin used to play on, and I had like 2 different attack sets of armor. So I had like a weapon skill type, and I had a like general like damage like attack type, right? And then I had one for mind, and I had one for intelligence, and then one for defense, but it wasn't as good. This other Red Mage/Warrior had like the Genbu shield, had like literally like just that person had focused on defense pretty much mostly. And so we would duo in Sky and stuff like that and farm mats for like Sky pops. And it was like, dude, it only took 2 of us, while other times it would take parties to go in there and get the job done. We were very efficient. Yeah, let's see the gear. So you might have to post it in Discord because I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna send you an invite, by the way. Because I don't, for some reason, I don't think, for some reason, I don't know. I don't know why I would have never, I don't know why. I guess it's been a while since we chatted. Freak. All right. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. I see. Oof. Yeah, here, I'll link the music too. You've got quite the little setup going though, Freak. I must say. Literally coded your way. Literally coded your way through it. 859, or no, I'm sorry. There's the lines left. I'm sorry. How many lines is this actually? Would you do like it's not 100 lines of code, but what is it, like 50 lines of code? That's hilarious. That's awesome, though. It might not necessarily be you. I know I need to change some settings because pretty sure my shit keeps fucking up a little bit too. Everything I do is on like a laptop, but my laptop's like, it's like 3.5 years old now, I think. It's like using 10 series graphics stuff, so like the 1060 shit. So it's maybe aging a little bit, like probably the battery, and I don't know how hot it is. Actually, I should probably check the temps a little bit. We're actually gonna... We're not too hot. We're doing okay. Oh, really? That's... Luckily, 11 is a slower paced game, but I could still see that being worse because of the delay. Yeah, we need to get you that Elon Musk internet. What internet is it actually? I actually don't know of too many satellite internet providers. Oh, there we are. Thanks, dude. Here, in the meantime, I'm going to refresh this because... Actually, I'm so curious. I want to see how much they actually commented on because they didn't comment on shit. Interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. Okay. So, yeah, the sub thing, they want to consider that for the future. I think we all agree that would be good because the more money that pumps into 11, the more they're probably willing to do for it. Maybe not. It's Square Enix. They're probably going to be cheap about it, but whatever. What was this one? Oh, yeah, this is the one where they talked about the budget, and they were like, yeah, we would if we could, but we're an old game, and Square Enix basically told us to fuck off. Would it be possible to add item or the race gender thing? It's possible, but that costs money, so they just can't do it. And basically anything that costs money, they just can't do. If that's going to be their answer to everything, why the hell would you do an AMA? Because they launched... Oh, true. That's interesting. I didn't know that, actually. I knew they launched them in the Ukraine, which Elon Musk is brilliant for that pivot. He definitely pissed off Russia, but brilliant for that move. It sucks it's delayed, but I also kind of feel bad for Ukraine, so. Okay, would you please consider allowing solo? Okay, so they basically said yes for some areas that didn't. Oh, this is another thing. So they basically, for this question, they asked to get rid of the minimum 3 party member limit to enter certain areas. They said yes for areas that didn't have. Well, they would have to look at it, but they said they would consider it for areas that weren't congested. And for other areas, they're probably not going to if they have high player count. They've also answered a ton of things like this where like they're basically just saying, yeah, our servers can't handle it. Not like the money thing is an issue too, but I'm also so curious, like if they did combine the sub, right? If they combine the 11 sub and the 14 sub, I'm super curious as to like what that necessarily means. Like what happens if they have a bunch of people joining the servers for 11 and they can't handle it? I mean, 14 couldn't handle it. And if 11 is on like a bare bones budget, I don't think, I have the confidence that they're even going to put the money in. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Delve was mentioned in here. It was Delve, Incursion, Vagary, and Dynamis Divergence areas. The game we never had the opportunity to visit. Oh, nice. I actually like that they answered this question. There are many locations mentioned throughout the game which have never had the opportunity to visit. Mithra Homelands, Rizoa in the north, etc. I'm talking take me to the... Oh, if they don't do it, we've been... I don't even use this word very often, but they've cucked us so hard on the Tavnazian capital. It was... Give Aldo. Aldo needs to take us there. He's the character in the opening screen. This has been teased so much. I for the life of me, cannot understand why this did not happen in Chains of Promathia or right after. Architecture. Yeah, no, yeah, that's actually a great point. 14 is still on the 2010 architecture. Who knows? They won't. Who knows? They won't upgrade anything for 11. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, but you can run like 20 to 30 instances of XI on a 14 server and still have room. That's also true, but like I think it's more or less about like how stingy they are about that shit. EverQuest did that too with their maps, and a lot of zones never became a thing. Yeah, dude. Yep. And I like a freak. I actually, like I said, I do agree with that. But certain things with 14 kind of worry me too, right? Like the fact that they're just pushing more and more casual content. I don't know. I feel like they've just got like the money bags planned for 14. As long as the story stays good, I don't really give a fuck because I understand that that's just what the game is. But 11's a different story. I'll die for fighting on that hill. So they said, I'd like to see it too. Vegito. I mean, of course they're not going to give us a legit answer, but oh, this has to do with actually Freak Show. This is more up your alley. The Kanagi Katana Empyrean weapon has an agility of plus 50 stats in its weapon skill. Blade. High. Oh, Blade High. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Has an agility damage modifier, but agility only benefits ranged attacks, not melee attacks. Gandiva Archery Empyrean weapon has a dexterity of plus 50 stat in its weapon skill. Jishnu's Radiance. I'm sorry. Has a dex damage modifier, but dex only benefits melee attacks, not ranged attacks. This choice of weapon stat and weapon skill damage modifier seems backwards. What was the reasoning behind these stat choices? This is some shit that like sounds very Final Fantasy XI. Both dex and agility affect frontline jobs, melee attacks and defense. Oh, so I'm guessing that was a frontlines thing then, specifically. That's my guess. I don't know. If Matsui P had unlimited money and resources, what would be the one thing he would like to do with, or to do the most with Final Fantasy XI? That's actually an incredible question. I'd like to renovate our development environment, which currently relies on specialized tools. Other than that, I'd like to revamp the UI, reorganize the tutorial, release an expansion, and hold a live in-person event in the US. That's what I'm talking about. Matsui. Now we just need to do a GoFundMe for his ass. Matsui for president. Come to the United States. I'm voting for him. Let's see. Would you please consider allowing... okay, we saw this one. We'll observe the congestion surrounding us. So again, they talk about server congestion. Those servers are running thin. Yeah, it's funny because... Well, it's not really funny. I feel bad. There was one of the 14 players that came over, and they were saying that it's one of those people who clearly plays 14 and they like 11, but they kind of don't get 11. You can totally tell. But the fact that they like 11 is cool, right? Like I don't want to shoo those people away, because I think people need to like understand there's different things from like the WoW, like, and it's not that 14 is necessarily a WoW clone now, but it kind of started off that way to like gain popularity. But 14, like there's different styles of games, especially in the same genre, separate from that, right? And we'll probably see it coming up here, but there was someone who said that they wrote like a big long thing that basically said they wanted everything to like change to basically kind of be like the UI of like 14. And thank God they said that they tried updating the UI in the past and it just wasn't happening. Now, if something does happen, that kind of does scare me that they would get rid of like, they would just make it a 14 UI. That would piss me off like heavily. A lot of people who try 11 complain about it. You have to explain how it was built, PS2. You know, that's true, but there's also, like I said, surprisingly, and this is where I think 14 is kind of doing itself an injustice. when the casuals start complaining that the game is getting too casual, and then they start coming over to 11, like this is a thing that I've been seeing lately. Anecdotal, sure. I can't give you exact numbers on this, but when I see that start to happen, that tells me that, you know, 14 is really, really going down the casual rabbit hole. And it's not that there's not hard content. It's just like you go from ultra casual to like ultimate content, right? Or like savage content. It's like there's no like middle ground. Would you please consider... Oh, that's the Moglophone thing. We'll observe the congestion, so that goes back to that. Okay. And then this is the thing where the guy's complaining about mages getting nerfed to the ground. To the actual question, has there been any thought put into better balancing options that players use that the devs consider too strong, instead of outright nerfing them into the ground to remove the option entirely? I mean, Savage Blade spam and nagling on everything is okay, but we can't have Summoner and Black Mages perform their actual jobs. Recent adjustments have all been buffs. With that said, the reason for nerfing many strategies in the past was because they enabled players to defeat an enemy, regardless of difficulty, by employing the strategy alone. Outside of those situations, we'd like to continue with only buffs moving forward. I think that is really cool. Like, if they found like a kind of like a sweet spot and they're just gonna buff, I think that's a really good spot to be in. We're enjoying the ears, relic weapons. Oh yeah, they literally just told this person that like the relic weapons are pretty much done. And then this was like a weird kind of question. Oh wait, no, they answered twice. So, I love the Final Fantasy XI gear swapping meta. There's nothing like it in any other game. True. The planning and execution of each gear set is so satisfying. Exactly, and that's why I wish they would bring back elemental shit like they have for Blue Mage, put it in 14, and then at the very least you could have ability swapping. But, you know, I'm a naysayer. Was the game always planning to have gear swapping in and out, or did that come along later in development or after launch? This follows up the other answer. So for 11, there's no concept of being in or out of battle, and it was always possible to change equipment at any time. Also, we never imagined it would be so widely used or as a battle strategy. Nowadays, we consider it as part of the Final Fantasy XI experience. True. Oh no. Damn, that sucks, dude. Damn, that sucks. I feel bad. You really weren't joking about that. Like that spotty internet? Is there just some days that it's worse? Is it like because of weather conditions or something too? Oh, nice. They answered this one. Well, they went ham on answering questions like right after. Although this one was 3 minutes ago. The auto-target feature in Final Fantasy XI is very clunky. Well, yeah. We've experienced that one. 3 megabit. Ooh, man. Damn. So it's probably not even keeping my stream up. Well, I mean, you know, if it helps, put this bitch down to like the lowest quality and maybe we can have like just audio. Or, you know, this will be a VOD. I'll keep it up. If you would rather play 11, no worries on that. No worries at all. The auto-target feature in Final Fantasy XI is very clunky. In the event where multiple monsters are on screen, it almost always seems to target the monsters that are the farthest away for some reason. We've all experienced this at least once or twice, and we all figured out like we have some weird way of like figuring it out. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's not even like annoying to me anymore. I've just gotten used to it and like know when and how to expect it. Especially in Dynamis and Odyssey, where you were limited to a specific time. This is very annoying as it wastes time. Sometimes poor auto-target leads to loss of TP due to the new monster being out of range when you use your weapon skill at the same moment where auto-target activates a faraway target. Or the player now has to run through several large models just to attack the next monster if he doesn't switch to something closer before that. Are you able to adjust auto target between the current default setting and another preset such as nearest target? Actually, I think, wasn't there a way to do that already? Let's see. To determine a target, the auto target system evaluates factors such as whether an enemy is close to the front of other characters within range. As you pointed out, we believe the fact that it targets enemies outside of auto attack range is an issue. Well, it's nice that they say that. The system was sufficient back in the day when the game couldn't gracefully handle as many monsters as it currently can. However, it's true that it's become less suitable for the battle styles of current players. There's a lot of aspects to this that we're unsure if we can adjust, so we'll try to request an investigation first. That's pretty cool. It's cool that they answered that. Is there any plans to make... Oh, yeah, so this is the rewatching cutscenes thing. Basically, someone commented previously saying that... they said they weren't a dev, but they thought that it was like tied to the zones, and Square Enix basically just said that. While we agree with you, the cutscene data is tied to the area itself, so this would be difficult to address currently. So again, it costs money and dev hours that they just don't have. So we're never gonna, well, not that we're never, maybe never, but we're not gonna get that go to your Mog house and play cutscenes thing anytime soon. Oh, this is that person who wanted basically everything to be like Final Fantasy XIV. And they said, we attempted this in the past, but the current UI system is extremely tied into fundamental systems. We learned that updating it would inflate development costs by an overwhelming amount and had to abandon the endeavor. So it's weird because like they said they could do it, and it does make sense too, because client side, yeah, I actually have the minimap, but I had to use Windower for that. Yeah, like I said, you can do all this stuff client side. It's not impossible, but I don't know. It's weird. Like sometimes those answers boggle my mind a little bit because you would think that they could just push client patches, right? For some of these things. Oh, is it loud? Yeah, I'll turn it down. I think that last track I could tell was a little bit louder. Let me know if that's better. And in fact, what I can do is, there we go. Thanks for the heads up. Anyways, yeah, like the same thing with like the graphics mods, like they basically said they're not touching that either. Like just the texture packs and stuff, which doesn't make sense because you'd think like realistically they would just like, if they wanted their job to be really easy, they would just contract people who've already done it and then reevaluate what's been done and just choose the shit that looks, or like maybe just take some of their extra budget, whatever they've got left, and use one of the art developers who originally worked on 11, and just make sure that it's lore friendly, right? And then just have that shit load client side. All you have to do is just do an update to the DAT files, right? I think that's what most of that stuff does anyways. Like, people do that now. Personally, I don't understand, but I don't know. I would assume there's probably something more technical that I just don't know. Thank you for your commitment in keeping Final Fantasy XI running all this time. Recent events on Asura server show that a character can single-handedly stop server's effort to down Miru by causing it to repeatedly spike flail, killing everyone even beyond area boundaries. Holy shit. Would it be possible to mitigate the move effect on players that are not primary targets, like it happens for player AoE effects? We've received many reports from our Western players regarding this, so we're going to address it. If it continues to be an issue after the fix, please send in your feedback again. Interesting. Damn. I know, right? They're like, those damn Western players are just bitching. It's funny. Nice. So it looks like they've answered a lot more of these questions. This is good. Why was the Ruined City... aggravating? This name doesn't make sense to me because just the first part of this question already hits me right in the chest. Why was the ruined city of Tasnavia never added as a playable zone in Chains of Promathia or Wings of the Goddess, or with past versions? Oh, in Wings of the Goddess. There we go. So they finished it. From the moment I saw the opening cinematic, I had always anticipated it would be part of the game at some point and not just a distant view at Blue Blade Fell. Here, 1 second. I'll read that. This is somewhere I'd like to go one day as well. Oh my god. I wasn't ready. If there's a chance, whew, I would like to make it so we can go there in the future. Fujito. You sexy developer. Whew. My heart. You make me not mad that I signed up for retail again. Okay, Freak, your question or your comment is next. Okay. Back then they developed systems as like an all-in-one, so you change something client side, it changes its server side, making it more complicated. So to develop a new system, you would have to add new UI systems as well, making the programming debugging. Oh, so that's why they did that. That makes a lot of sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. Freak show with the 5 head comments over here. This just warms my damn heart. I gotta see the oh no, I hope I can save my spot. Let to go in the future. Please consider this in the future. Tavnazia has been one of the places I wanted to visit, or has been one of the places I want to visit, even if it is made into a high-level hunting ground. Honest to God, take me there. I hope we don't have to go through this all over again. I'm so sorry if we do. I didn't think. Thinking isn't my forte. Son of a bitch. Oh no. Oh no. No. Hold on a second. Maybe we can find it. No. No, it's gonna be further up, hopefully. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, it's not a true mini map. That's the one I use. That's the one you told me I could scroll on, and I was like, my mind was blown. Son of a bitch. Where is it at? Where was that question? Oh wait. Oh, they answered my question. Here we are. Okay, we're gonna read this one right now. I did Freak Show. I played Endwalker. I like 100%. I went full lore mode and I learned a shit ton of stuff about Final Fantasy 14 1.0. I actually think for all the things I hate about 14, I actually love the story. Yeah, I know I'm gonna have to look up Tavnazia that way. But they answered my question, which was actually related to that. So we're gonna go into that one. But to answer your comment, I did play Endwalker. I fucking busted that bitch out in 1 week on launch. I did the whole thing where I was one of those assholes where I would my PlayStation basically ran for an entire week because I wouldn't log out. And I got past the thing by just staying in the cutscene of my retainer. But to be fair, I was up most days and I didn't sleep very much, so. Dude, those errors. Dude, the memes actually. Okay, we can pause for a second before I read my question up there. The memes were hilarious. It was like login savage, like shit like that. Like, it was true too. Some of those times to log in took me like 3 hours. I could have downloaded Final Fantasy 11 in that fucking time. Okay, like it was that serious. Okay. So my question: with the curation of new content like Voracious Resurgence, are there any plans on implementing new zones? This could include potentially old assets not released for their intended purpose. I've chatted with a bunch of older players and read through old forum posts where it seems like there is at least a small group of old/returnings and new players who would love to finally go to the Tavnazian capital. I'm sure Aldo would love to finally reclaim the city like it looked like he was doing in the opening movie. Whoa, what? We're preparing a battle area with an all-new appearance. What does that mean? Wait, this is not a drill. Freak Show, I have a big thing about what you just said, but Yib, I actually don't know. Wait, what? Is that in, so I have no clue if this is in relation to this, the Tavnazian capital. Are we going to Tavnazia? Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Okay. I have so many questions. So I've done a lot of research into old Final Fantasy XI, right? I've seen all the videos where people have hacked into all of the old areas that they found in maps, like even like beta designs for the chateau in Sandoria, and like the Chocobo Forest, that area, and the area, actually, yeah, the area that Grave used to always like hack into, the one that has the train. And then there's even a city in that area that has the train. Because that like, think of it like an L, right? Or where's the camera? So think of it like an L. If you go this, there's like a little signpost like they normally have, and on one end it tells you this end is going to the Chocobo Forest, and then this end goes to, I forgot the name of it, but they had a name for the city, and this city was actually only shown, and it was shown like almost in its entirety like one time, with like tons of, it's funny because the only other place where we see like windmills even somewhat kind of similar, yeah, no, it was in a Japanese play online, there's like a Japanese play online, like it's not even like a commercial because it's a little bit longer, but it's like a big thing, and it legit like shows like a whole nother like functioning, like windmill spinning and shit, like before they've ever showed Bastok, before they ever showed Sandoria, before they ever showed Windurst, like that was the thing. It was like one of their demos, and it's wild. I don't remember if they showed like another job or something. I want to say they did, but it's some crazy shit. So I've done like a lot of research into these things. I've never once seen Tavnazia. Now, Grave did tell me one time that you could go back there and you could kind of see things a little bit more detailed, but I'd assume that like they were just really small assets. Like by the time you got back there, it was just like a visual trick. Which is the north of Gustaberg. Interesting. We're gonna have to do a day where like we go over some of this shit, because we're going real meta over here. There's also another zone that's like, it's like a battle. It's almost, I want to say, I don't know how they knew this, but apparently it was like marked as like an instance thing, but it's like a gorge. Think of almost like what, like Lion King almost, like where they have like that just like wasteland kind of gorge area. It's just bigger. It's like a bigger gorge. But yeah, there's like that area that was like never used. Like there's so many unused assets that I can guarantee are just in there. And it probably wouldn't be too crazy to like slap some textures on there, make it maybe make it a little bit cleaner. Shoo. Or maybe, or you know what? Maybe. Okay. Whew. My Tabnazia brain is on right now. I gotta chill out. I'm reading too much into this. We're preparing a battle area with an all-new appearance. That probably doesn't mean Tabnazia. It probably just means a new battle area. But there's another comment that involves the Tabnazia stuff. And I'm going to want to get to that one, because it seems like they're answering that question. Okay, let's go back a little bit, because my head almost fucking blew up on... We almost had a TOS moment. Oh, so actually, Freak Show. Regarding your Dynamis comment. You know, I'm super... And they could still do it, right? They could still do it. And the reason why I say this, they could still incorporate Dynamis the way we know it in 11. Because for the longest time, I think a lot of us thought Hydaelyn was at Silver Tear Falls. This is a 1.0 relic, right? And then we found out her heart was in Silver Tear Falls. And then we were like, at the end of Shadowbringers, we're like, this is the first time we ever see Hydaelyn. She's at Silver Tear Falls. Right where she told Midgard-Sormr to protect. And then in Endwalker, we got cucked. It's the second time I've used that. In like years. Second time I've used that word in years. And it felt so weird to me that, like, what does Hydaelyn's heart even mean at this point? Realistically. Because we didn't even utilize it. And then we got to 6.1, in which case we saw that was like the gateway to the gods. And so the old lore kind of goes that Midgard-Sormr was told by Hydaelyn to protect Silver Tear Falls and Lake from the Garleans whenever they came in. So he was probably protecting the gods, right? Now, that being said, the whole thing, like, that's been there for forever. And Dynamis is one of those things, right, in Final Fantasy XI that, like, you go by those points a million times before you ever even know, like, if it's your first time playing 11, you go those points a million times before you ever even know that they're, like, gateways to Dynamis. I think that would be an incredible way of telling the 1.0 story, if they wanted to, because like we talked about before, that's a huge problem that, like, they have not even shown to try to answer. Literally, if it wasn't for just random YouTubers who post, like, the story, like, on the internet, nobody would have a fucking clue. Because other than the opening movie that Square Enix put, like, on their YouTube page, they don't put shit for 11, or I'm sorry, for 14 1.0. It's crazy that you have to go to, like, random YouTubers to find anything out about like canon content for 14. That just makes no sense to me. It's crazy that they've kind of gotten that nobody criticizes them for it. But whatever. But I think it could be a really cool way. Like, think of how dope it would be to have, like, raid zones in the cities. Like, Old Dob would be a really cool one. Limsa and, like, Gridania too. And then you could do, I think it would be a really cool opportunity to do in, like, Coerthus, right? You have a raid zone in like, and it takes you back to like old Coerthus before the blizzard happened, or like almost like the seemingly eternal blizzard. Even though I'm reading some of the ARR quests, side quests now, and they're making it seem like that eventually one day will end. But that's a whole nother tangent. Old Coerthus. What is it? Old. Because what? Outside of Limsa Laminsa, Lenosha looked hella different. Especially when you get down to like lower, like they had like these giant like bridges and stuff that would take you from like these like little islands. That would be super cool too. And same thing with and I was again going back to the whole Silver Tier Lake shit. I was super bummed about Mordona, because even now we see the lower half of Mordona, and you can see that there's another side to the lake of Silver Tier, but we don't actually ever go to the falls section into where like the bottom part of the lake is. We just don't. They could have totally added that as like a dynamic zone. So like there's opportunity there to add like the open world Dynamis areas, and then like inner city Dynamis areas. Even maybe like tell like what happened in Ishgard during that time, right? Because like other than the blizzard, you don't like really know. So see, not even that. I was hoping with the 20th anniversary for 11 and the Dyna lore and mobs being added in Endwalker, would have loved to see Dyna Sandy in the Alliance raid, or as the Alliance raid. That would be really, really cool, but that kind of goes back. So there's another question that someone asked earlier in this AMA where it talked about like combining the lore. It talked about combining the lore. And it basically seemed like they just weren't interested in that. Yeah, so the shards, that's like a big thing, right? Like, and I know where everyone gets this from. I've talked about this with other people too. And it's weird, right? Because like Shintoto is like a big kind of plot point for that. Shintoto is a huge part in like the Black Mage lore for 14. And like, I think even when we first meet her in 11, isn't she like hopping dimensions and shit? And she like jokes about it. We could, right? And it's even said in 14 that like all the 11 races are like the old versions. Well, not like, how do I say this properly? They're like the ancient races that later became what the races are in 14. But I feel like they've kind of, other than using assets, right? Which I think is cool that they do to like, because it is, I mean, it's, the games are related a little bit, but I feel like they've kind of pushed I feel like there's been like an effort to like push the lore away from itself. I could be wrong on that. Like, again, I think they do little cameos and stuff for fun. No, so you know what though? That's a great point. That's a great point. The thing is about that point though, this kind of goes back to like something that I don't know if you ever listened to like Work to Game at all, or like Brian, his Ginger Prime channel. He said something. It's funny that he said it when he said it, because I had this on my mind for the longest time. Most of us aren't actually sure if Yoshi P even likes Final Fantasy 11. Most of us just aren't sure of that. He might pull some little stuff over here and there, because there are a lot of 11 players that transfer to 14 and that still play 14. But like, if I'm a Square Enix executive, right? To me, I see Nier as being like a newer, more popular game, and we want to push that. Like, let's address like the elephant in the room when it came to the Nier raid stuff. They were definitely pushing like Nier advertising on us. Like, that was for sure a thing. And I mean, I get it. It's brilliant. I mean, it gives you a crossover. Same thing with like Monster Hunter. These crossovers are awesome and stuff, but it's like they're also kind of like marketing agreements. And the thing is like, dude, I'm right here with you. I would be the first one to be like, fuck yeah, we're getting an 11 raid. I'll be right there with you. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. And that's why, like, the interview... Well, I mean, now I'm kind of not sure. We'll have to wait till part 2 of the interview with Yoshi P for the Final Fantasy XI 20th anniversary. But in part 1, it made it seem like that, like, his relationship with Tanaka was that, like, Tanaka really helped him out during one of his hard times. And so, like, with 14, yeah, it became a great success, and Yoshi P is definitely profiting off of that success. But, like, their relationship was pretty strong. So like the fact that Tanaka went to Yoshi P and asked him to like personally to take over 11, and that Yoshi P recognized that he didn't have enough time to like focus on 11, all the calls and all the shots except for like financial decisions, he still has like basically Matsui has to go through Yoshi P when it comes to like the finances and stuff like that. And then when it comes to cases of like UI control or just anything that would change to be less accessible, I think him and Yoshi P have to kind of butt heads on that. That's as far as it made it sound in that, and that was part 1. Who knows? Maybe part 2. Like, I mean, let's also be like frank about this too. Yoshi P has said like every time he talks about other MMOs and stuff like that, he'll name them: Ultima Online, RuneScape, I don't know if he's actually mentioned EverQuest now that I think about it. Diablo, World of Warcraft. He's named like all these hack and slash or like games that were like very, very different and way more accessible. RuneScape kind of being like the outer one. And they're actually more Western games too, now that I think about it. He's never once mentioned Final Fantasy XI. And you'd think at this point, 10 years managing it, that he would have touched it at least once and like maybe want to give it a little bit of promotion since it's under his belt too. Not once, never has. So like, I don't know. And it kind of goes back to like what I was saying. There's a lot of us don't actually know if Yoshi P even likes Final Fantasy XI. Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, it did barely take it over. It wasn't until Asmongold made the switch and gave Square Enix a shit ton of free PR. It was that same exact year and around that exact same time that Final Fantasy XIV finally beat 11 in revenue. Which, I mean, it was going to happen inevitably, like later, but it took a while. But that's wild. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one because, like, a lot of games do eventually. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's like a sign. That's a bad sign, right? For a lot of MMOs, they don't survive past that, past the server. What fucking word am I trying to say? I know even on the less populated servers used to have 2 to 3K players. High populated servers, populated 7. Yeah, you're right. Combining them is normally a pretty bad sign, though. Like, it's normally the sign of the end for a lot of MMOs, but I mean, 11 has kind of survived past it. Not kind of, they definitely have survived past it. So it's a good thing, but it's tough because it's like, I get it. I get the arguments on both sides. And then the first thing. Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard mixed reviews of Seekers, honest to God. Okay, I want to go past this. This is still so sick, though. This is somewhere I'd like to go one day as well. If there's a chance, I would like to make it so we can go there in the future. If there's a chance, though. That does bum me out. They had 2? I didn't know that. I thought they just killed it in one sweep. Yeah, I'm on the side that generally agrees that the server mergers were, and by the way, mergers was the word I could not think of for some reason, so thank you. But yeah, I generally agree. Spending less money, and it was probably the timing in which they did it that was probably saved them, to be honest. Like it keeps people seeing more people in game. And then on top of that, it reduces those costs for the dev team and stuff like that. So Freak, that's what I was talking about last night. I fucking hate eye level with a passion. And I feel like what's going to bum me out like hard is going to be like getting to like that end game stuff. And it's just going to be eye level, which is basically Final Fantasy 14 and dumbed down shit, which is not fun. But I do also get some of that for like some of the gear as like a leveling system, right? Because I mean I do get it. At one point it's like, when do we stop making gear? So I'm a little bit more sympathetic for 11. Yeah, I'm a little bit more sympathetic for 11 because it's been around 20 years as opposed to like 14, which, as far as I know, started doing the eye level shit right away. Well, ARR. But, at least for the most part, as from what I've seen, you can still gear swap. Like, I think that like for Red Mage and stuff like that, you might have eye level, but if you're trying to focus on skills that use mind versus intelligence versus like strength for weapon skills, and then like attack damage for endgame. I don't know. I'm not there yet, so I have no actual opinion on that. I'll have to take your word for it, and I hope that's the case too, because I mean, I'm stoked to get there for sure, no matter what. But generally speaking, like how it's implemented in 14 eye level, man, it's a bummer. Because there's just no, like, it's like everybody's the same. and I get the argument for that from like a fairness perspective. But you know what? I don't want it to be fair. I don't know. You know what I mean? And if that puts me on like a losing side, that's cool too. Sometimes you gotta like work like like I think it's okay if someone has like way better gear than you, if they worked for it. And a lot of the content in like 14 is so easy anyways that like you don't even like you can have like the like, let's say like 480 stuff and you're fine, right? You don't need up to like the 510s, wherever it's gonna go. By the time we get to like relics and stuff like that, you don't even need that. That's just overkill. They're using the upgraded relic artifact. Oh, okay, yeah. So there we go. See, it solved itself. It's eye level, but you're still having to swap for specific things. That's cool to me. Like, that makes so much more sense. It's a more complicated system than just eye level and then let it go. Don't think about it. And when people in 14 try to tell me that there is customization because you have materia, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're a liar. Like, everybody does the same thing. They just max crit, or they max like spell speed, or if they just want to be a better tank, they'll do like tenacity or something, whatever. But it's not complicated. You just use the same thing and just spam it. Exactly. Okay. Thank you for doing the AMA. I've really been enjoying Odyssey lately, and despite the difficulty, the V20 fights have been really fun and pushed me to do new jobs / tactics. But I did have 2 questions about Odyssey. First, were there any tactics that players took to beat the goal NMs that were wow, I just like bugged out. Goal NMs that were a surprise or that the dev team found particularly interesting? Second, I hear a lot of newer players talking about how difficult it is to get into Odyssey, particularly since the structure of the content is so exclusive, even when trying to farm Sheol C for segments. I don't know what that is yet, but many don't even want to bother with it. Comments on the live stream a few weeks ago show the same frustration. For more experienced players, the loss of segments upon failure means people aren't likely to experiment to find new strategies. I don't know if that's true. Like Final Fantasy 11, you've always had like things like experience loss too. Like you've always lost something. Like there's always been a consequence, and people like figured out crazy strategies for things. So I don't know. This person sounds like a casual, a dirty, stinky casual. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, but. Have you or would you consider providing an alternate limited means of obtaining segments or Moglophone IIS? I don't know what that is yet. For example, weekly, daily, or we issue 1 MP2 every 72 hours to allow / encourage players to participate that are having a difficult time getting into segment groups or want to experiment more with new boss strategies. Regarding your first question, it didn't really deviate from our expectations. As for the second, once the congestion situation calms down, we'll consider easing it as well. Congestion situation. Are you telling me, going back to the combined sub thing, that more players are coming back for the 20th anniversary, and now we are having server congestion issues? Or is there a larger conversation to be had about bots and stuff like that, and because of the small dev team, they're having a harder time catching it, and maybe that's the case? Either way, you'd still have to pay for a sub and a character. Okay, there's no response there, no response there. Okay, that was that Unity thing. That didn't really matter. Thank you for doing this AMA. Great to see things are still going strong after returning from a 10+ year break to play once again. As a returning player that had not played since Wings, here's my question. Yib, this is you. This is you all day. Would you please consider adding S Astral Detritus to the list of items which can be purchased with hallmarks from Ambuscade, or increasing the amount of heavy metal plates, Rift Dross and Rift Cider that is purchasable each month? The items you listed are supposed to be obtained from another content, so we currently have no plans to add or increase the cap. Well, there's that. During the earlier years of Final Fantasy XI, the live Vana'diel cam used to roam across several areas of Vana'diel. Seeing all these amazing locales was one of the main reasons that inspired me to get into the game and explore what I saw on the live cam. However, today, it only circles around Mara and doesn't leave town. Was there any reason for this? That's actually a really good one. I noticed that a while back. Even when I was a little kid, and my parent, like, whole thing, there's like a whole story behind that about how I even got into 11. And I convinced my dad, because he was shocked that I went out and made money to buy the game. Once he canceled my sub, and so I couldn't play anymore, because I was too young to officially get a job. I used to watch that cam like religiously, almost like another tab in like the YouTube background. It literally was the ancient. Actually, you know what's funny about that? It really was. Like, that was streaming, and at that time, a high fidelity game like before streaming was even like, we're talking before Justin TV. Huh. Wait, was Live Anna Deal, did they go through YouTube at the time? No. Because I don't think YouTube even had live streaming at the time, did they? Yeah, no, I didn't think they did either. So it was some like native thing. See, if they would have invested in... Shit, you want to know something crazy? You know what's crazy? If they would have added that shit into Play Online, maybe Play Online would have been worth something. I think Play Online is cool. Like, it's nostalgic. And I don't know, I love the Dot Hack games. So the fact that Dot Hack took an insane amount of inspiration from 11 and Play Online, I don't know. That's one of those like relics that I understand that I'm a boomer for liking, but it is what it is. But you know, honest to God, if Play Online would have like pushed streaming as a service, like before Justin TV, or like you said, some of the older things, because I know there was a couple others that like you could kind of finagle to make happen, but oh my God, that would have been, they would have really been onto something. Okay. Oh, so okay. So since this one is a live camera shot, we wanted to show players in it. What? Was there a reason for this change? Since this one is a live camera shot, we want to show players in it. Well, what happens if there's nobody in Mara? Because I think I've seen that. Honest to God, if I go right now, I'm almost positive if I... Because I just had a YouTube tab open like a second ago for something. Hold on a second. Yeah, they're showing like an empty spot right now, so I don't understand that. Okay, this is a good question. When you come out with something new, how do you measure its success? For example, when you come out with something like Odyssey, what metrics are you looking into to see how well it's doing? We look at operational data to see how many players are playing, and also look at player reaction from the forums and on social media. We are using all your feedback as a reference as well. So are you actually telling me that they're in the Final Fantasy XI Facebook group? Because they're sure as fuck not on Twitter. They post on Twitter. They don't respond. I'm telling you right now, there's been times, and I hear you, that explains that, but like, there have been so many times where I've looked at the Live Vanna deal and there's like no one on screen. I have no clue why. Maybe I'm catching it at weird times, but I promise you that I'm not lying with that one. Okay, there's people at it right now. I don't know if it changed the thing, but... What you say makes sense, though. Wow, Mara's that's an endgame zone. I would have never thought. Okay, well, that makes sense. Oh, okay, so this is... They were asking about, like, making tanks more tanky. Like, well, to be fair... Okay, I'm going to read this one because this is a 14 player. They didn't say it, but I want to see if you catch it too, okay? While Paladin and Room Fencer enjoy widespread use, other tanks like Ninja and Puppet Master are used more for specific things. Likewise, Warrior and Dark Knight can somewhat tank, or off-tank, but lack of proper tools to maintain enmity and operate without a full team supporting them. That is a fucked up sentence. Are there any changes or items that are being considered to allow these less capable tanks to be a little more useful? When was the last time you tanked with a Dark Knight? I actually want to know. Honestly, God, maybe even Warrior. I like Warrior, but like, I guess that could be a valid question. We currently have no plans to improve the tanking capabilities as these jobs are well suited for DPS. Yeah, I agree. Unless Freak Show. Freak Show is the one in endgame right now. Oh, I know. So the Dark. So the Warrior I can kind of understand, right? But the Dark Knight, that was the dead giveaway. And next they're gonna say, well, you know what? You know, I really think that Dark Knight should mostly. I think it should have better use for like great swords. I don't really think that we should use like scythes at all. And then we ban that person from the game altogether. Oh my god, when I found out Dark Knights were using great swords, and don't get me wrong, I get it. I've played other Final Fantasy games. But when I found out Dark Knights were using great swords in Final Fantasy 14, I about shit a brick. I was so mad. Oh, this is kind of a good question too. It's like, it's an obvious question and answer, but I think for a lot of returning players, it's actually really fair to ask, because considering the times back in the day, having a fee to play a game was somewhat newer, unless you were like, you know, like a tech guy in a college dorm somewhere, right, where you were used to doing like online games. Hi, my brother and I have shared an account since NA launch. We have other accounts too now, but we've always wanted to play together on our original character. So they shared a character, right? Their parents were like, no, we're only paying for one. We're not paying for two. Have you ever considered a character transfer system or simultaneous login, perhaps with a fee? We aren't considering this at the moment. Enabling character transfers between accounts would foster account selling RMT. So yeah, obvious, but like kind of a decent. There's probably a lot of people, you know, it sucks. I can't even get my old character back. It's crazy because I did the refrender, and I'm pretty positive it like identified my character, and it even identified an old friend. I don't know if they had to add me or something. I think that's how it works. They have to add you or something. But like, you know, it just sucks. I'll never be able to like kind of like re-log in like where I was. I think it was like in Altepa Desert or something. Dude, Altepa, can I say something about Altepa Desert too back in the day? Man, what was that? Like level 30 or 30? I think it was like 35. You had to run through that one cave from like from mines. All of a sudden, you could finally get access to go through that gate. Yeah, the beetles were great XP. And also too, you got you killed the spiders and you got the silk or whatever it is. And those sold. That was like the first time you like were getting drops that were like actually making you money. I remember that. That shit was dope. 3 years ago. Oh, that's interesting, Freak. Sorry, I didn't see your. I don't know why that like I missed that, but interesting. Let me add your account and character log on. Create. Oh yeah. But yeah, I remember like, dude, you felt, cause like I feel like level 35, like when you finally got there for the first time, right? Cause you'd see characters like running around in town, and like 35, I feel like, I forgot what the armor's called, but it's like kind of bluish, and you kind of see like the chainmail and stuff coming through. I feel like that's the first time you get some armor that when you get to like your, well, I guess like back in the day, I don't know if it would be how people would feel about it now. If your first time playing Final Fantasy 11 is like in today's age, you're not gonna experience this. That wasn't recycled. Yeah, gear sets did look similar, but like it was one of the first ones that actually had like a better look to it. Because all the other ones had like what? They had like the base color. At least I don't know. That was the shit I got. It still had like the base colors, like it was like those browns or like the grays and stuff like that. But you actually had something that looked kind of cool, in my opinion. And then it wasn't like a Subligar. Like I don't know. I felt like that level range. I remember like getting up there and grinding up to that, like as like a little kid. And getting there and then like walking into Altepa, it felt like you were actually doing something that was a little bit like, I don't know, you had a little bit more street cred back in the day. Yeah, the AF stuff too. Like that was like, when you got to that level, you actually started feeling like you, like I said, if you think about like that 35 range is like, all right, I'm not like a noob anymore. I'm starting to finally get like my bearings, you know what I'm saying? And then like the AF stuff is like, all right, we gotta start putting a little bit of respect on my name. You know what I'm saying? I got my AF gear. Can't talk to me like that anymore. Spinning propped. It was an extra 50K. Dude, I used to play with someone. I shit you not. There's no way I'm gonna remember their name. I used to play with someone back in the day though, and I want to say we started close to around the same time, and like this, oh my god, they actually beat the bots to Leaping Lizzie and got the boots, and before they sold them, they showed them to me, and I was disgusted that they were a Gillionaire. Because back then, I think it was like a mil you could sell the Leaping Boots for. And if you had a mil in Gil, whew, you were living large. You were living the good life. You take it a little easy. You didn't have to worry about shit for a while. You know what? I think I'll take the Chocobo today. Night Yib. It was good chatting with you again. Don't be a stranger. You're in Discord too, so come hang. Okay, I think we gotta make some progress on some of these. We've read a lot of them, but I don't think we're through. There's a lot of newer ones, so. Just as Final Fantasy XI means so much to us fans, I imagine it must be a major part of the lives of those dedicated to working on it. For whoever would like to share, what have you created or been part of in Vana'diel that is special to you? And thank you so much for keeping Vana'diel alive. It's thanks to everyone on the team that we can continue to cherish this game. There's a lot I'd like to name, but recent examples would be the feature that enables alter ego logic to be implemented with simplified language. It's coming from Matsui. The framework for the raft that travels from Palbro Mines to Zurin Mines, I created it with the hopes of demonstrating it in action in front of other companies, but the debugging process was a lot of work, like piling on a bunch of quad of and seeing if they would make it to Zurin Mines. Wow, that sounds interesting. That's like a funny way to put it. I was never rich, but never broke, or broke. We're talking broke. I always had 300 to 500K till I hit 75. Then I was always around 1 to 1.5 mil. Well, you, my friend, were smart. I was a dumbass little kid, and maybe you were a smart ass little kid, but I was not at that level. In fact, I remember I had a hard lesson learned. I had that experience that a lot of people talk about, where I saved up for a long time, made my gil, and I sold my current armor so I could afford the next set of armor, and did not have a backup plan if I leveled down. And sure enough, I took my ass to wherever that camp was that I went to at the time, and I leveled down. Honest to God, I don't know how I got so lucky, but I had a party of people who let me just stick it out, and they must have felt really bad for me. I want to say this is in Jugner, but they let me stick it out, and they graciously allowed me to level back up. But I was sweating bullets. I was sweating big bullets for that one. Can you please remove the 1 second lockout on the equip set command? Equip set processes are running during that 1 second, so this would not be possible. Okay. Congratulations on the 20th anniversary, and thank you for many years of service. Would you consider publishing some Final Fantasy XI content in the form of companion books? Having a book of We Are Vana'diel with interviews, art, and lore would be amazing. The amount of information available on the site is much greater than what you may be imagining. So if we make it into a book, it may end up becoming something big like an encyclopedia. We also have videos, so we ask you enjoy the content from the website. So no, we don't want to make money, or no, Square Enix doesn't want to invest in us. An hour a night farming. I think what I did back then is I think I did mine in bulk. I think like when I had to do it, it wasn't an hour a night. Although that sounds like it's way more efficient and the smart thing to do. But back then I think I was just like, all right, time to farm. Time to go work out in the mob fields and just kick it out. Knock it out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll be doing that this time around. Apologize if this has been asked, but is it possible to fix trust mechanics to have a command to attack and/or buff instead of going into combat every time? Alter egos move automatically and aren't meant to be commanded. Therefore, we won't have a feature like the one you are requesting. So, no, we just ain't programming that shit. Besiege is pretty much broken now. Each time it happens, it only lasts 1 or 2 minutes. Have you planned to fix it? Because it was one of the most awesome content. It was one of the most awesome content of the game. Although we considered this in the past, we can't simply make the enemy stronger due to how Besiege has elements like key NPCs in Al-Zabi getting kidnapped and keeping track of consecutive victories as we're leaving it as it is now. Let's see, Devil Manta farming, Angel Skins Law. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I know, well, if I go to private servers, I don't know how things are now for 11, so that's like something I need to like figure out. But like if I go to private servers, I've got a few things unlocked, right? Like what is it, like beehive chips or like the go-to when you fucking first start a new character on like a classic server. That shit sells every time, and you're gonna make the money the fastest doing that. Shit like that. Maybe even bat wings, if you can catch like, well, it depends on the server. If they've got a bunch of alchemists, I think bat wings and maybe the blood, I don't remember exactly, sell. Some fan have been able to do HD. Oh, this is the HD texture packs. We are not currently considering this, so they just like said hell no. Would it be possible to see additional effects of weapon skills, blue magic pet abilities land at the initial time of use alongside damage dealt? Also, would it be possible to see an enemy's buffs / debuffs while targeting them, similar to seeing a party member's buffs while targeting them? That was a tough one to read. We should have structured it that way from the beginning. However, we would need to change general aspects such as the network packets, so this would be difficult. So basically anything they have to like code which is kind of weird because then it's like, I'm going to assume there's basic debugging things that they have to deal with, but like, it's kind of weird because it's like, that is kind of their job, but they're saying literally anything that like requires that kind of work, they just can't do. It also makes me question like how many things are like breaking all the time, or maybe being like exploited. I don't know. I'm curious now. A lot of Square Enix games have the most spectacular cinematic cutscenes. If you could have that team make a cinematic of anything you wanted in Final Fantasy XI, what would it be and why? That's actually a really good question. Matsui, the dance scene in Voracious Resurgence with Prince Tryon. Fujito, the last scene of Voracious Resurgence. Even visualizing it, it looks like it's going to be something wild. So wow, they're really... So, now I'm wondering if they're just pushing that. It feels a little weird. Would you ever consider working on a single-player offline... This is a... Come in with the good questions. Because it's kind of solvable now, but whatever. Would you ever consider working on a single-player offline version of Final Fantasy XI similar to the Dragon Quest X offline that is coming? I would love to see something like this someday. We don't have any concrete plans right now. Most of all, I'm worried that a Vana'diel without other players would be bland, like a beer that has lost its carbonation. That's a good answer. However, I think, and I've said this before, oh yeah, dude, before I answer that, the NPC price, Devil Wings came out from Ladybug Wings. The NPC thing, I remember that being a huge thing. Like, all the bots that would, like, be on the Vana'diel timers, and they would, like, you'd have to, like, run. If you wanted to buy from the NPCs to get, like, crafting material and shit, you'd have to, like, spam as fast as possible when the shop's open to buy, like, materials. And then, so you wouldn't have to buy them from the auction house, because they would just buy from the vendors and then sell in the auction house, for, like, 5 times, 10 times the amount. Is stupid. So an offline version of Final Fantasy XI, that was that question. And then the answer again, we don't have any concrete plans right now. Most of all, I'm worried that Vana'diel without other players would be bland, like a beer that has lost its carbonation. My thought on this, right? If they ever did decide to go that route with Final Fantasy XI, and at one point in time, from a branding perspective, depending on how far out this is, if it's like really far into the future, I could maybe see them being like, all right, we're cutting Final Fantasy XI. It's far past due, blah, 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 right? If it's like 10 years into the future, I don't see them like dropping a numbered title because it takes them so much longer to create these games. So like that's an asset, right? I would actually go the .hack route with this. And it's cool because then it would create kind of like, and again, I just want to preface this. I don't want Final Fantasy XI to go single player. I'm not one of those people, but I'm saying if it ever did, I think the smart route for them to go would go like the .hack route, because .hack copied Final Fantasy XI in a lot of ways. Like the play online, like the way a lot of that shit's structured, and even the way a lot of it looks is like damn near like the same. Depending on which versions of .hack you're playing, the GU or the original. The GU one in particular has like a shit ton of similarities. And a moth like fly by my face. I could foresee them turning a lot of those characters into like the NPCs of like the real world, right? And you getting like those emails in play online and like having to respond to them and stuff. It would be a little bit of extra dev work and then like writing and stuff, but I mean, for brand purposes, if you wanted to go offline and not have to do like the server route, like, and you just have it be like a massive download, I could totally see that. Birdblood used to sell to NPCs like 350 gil per blood. Really? I did not know that. It's like a 100% drop for one. If you had With you almost always got 2. Dude, that's a hack. I didn't know that. That's a lot too. Back in the day, that's really good. That was the one thing about 11, actually. I think old school wise that I think they didn't do right was they made like the shop NPCs way too expensive, because like a lot of that gear, by the time you could afford it, you were way past that shit. Like there was no point in even buying that gear anymore, because then you could go to the auction house and just get more relevant gear for like the same price, if not cheaper. And that was when like gil was hard to come by. Like that was something I never really understood, like having potions and stuff. Like I think when I first started playing, I don't think I ever, maybe I used a potion like once, but I never used that stuff because it was like, okay, I can't, like, it's a waste of gil and it's not even really helping me that much, when in reality it probably would have been awesome to use. Okay, let's keep scrolling. Will there be an investigation on 60 FPS mode? I know it's a heavy work and need lots of QA, but it will significantly improve the game experience. We tried this before, but abandoned it due to errors occurring with Final Fantasy XI's graphics drawing systems. So it's just one of those client-side things that we have to keep doing. Any chance of Apex Jug Pets? We aren't currently considering adding anything in particular at the moment, but if we were to add them, we could make them work as alternate appearances for existing pets. As for their attributes, adding a clearly superior version of an existing pet family would render the existing ones useless, so it's possible that Jug Pets of Apex monsters would not be as powerful as you might imagine. Okay. Well, freak, there you go. That apparently Square Enix figured that one out too. Are there any plans to release the music of Final Fantasy XI on vinyl? We have seen Square Enix release a lot of vinyl records of other Final Fantasy titles in recent years, and that makes me wonder when will this game get the same treatment? We'll let the department in charge know that we have received such a request. Jug Pets again. Any plans to replace Play Online with something? Okay, that's a no. I'd like to consider decoupling it if possible, but it would be no easy feat since Final Fantasy XI is an application built to run on the Play Online framework. Would it be possible to add a player? Okay, that's that. We already know that one. That one was like, the person needed to report the person. I don't know why that was a question. Oh, this is interesting. Any chance we can see the game released on modern consoles? I doubt it, because it's something about PlayStation 2, I want to say, like the dev kits. Would be great to see this on PS5 with the free-to-play up to a certain level like Final Fantasy XIV to put in loads of players. Consoles are lacking MMOs and it's a real shame. Thank you for your feedback. As for the free-to-play duration, we'll look at... Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll look into this. Wink. What was your favorite story / expansion and why? I'm curious, as Chains of Promathia was always my favorite due to nostalgia reasons, but recompleting the storylines from a new character later in my 20s as opposed to teens made me appreciate Wings of the Goddess much more. We implemented everything that was initially planned for in Rise of the Zillart, and I was relieved with a sense of accomplishment. As a developer, I enjoyed working on Treasures of Ottergone, as I had the opportunity to design some unique jobs. Matsui. Wings of the Goddess, being able to walk around all of those areas in the past stirred up a lot of nostalgia, and I really liked the story too. That was from Vegito. Who are your favorite NPCs in Vana'diel and why? Everyone loves Shintoto, obviously, but Naja easily tops my list. She rules the Sentinels with an iron fist. Paw. But I love her domineering attitude and her non-nonsense management style. The humor in her missions really worked for me. Thanks for doing this and for continuing to develop Final Fantasy XI. I've been a fan since the US release. Halver and Kurilla, since my personal character started in Sandoria, they took care of me during cutscenes and missions. That's cool. They're all quirky and lovable, but I don't have any particular favorites. Well, that's not like a... Bitch, tell me the answer. That was Vegito. Oh no. Wait, I swear I saw... I'm gonna have to look up... I'm gonna have to control find Tabnazia. Because I swear... I saw an answer to another question that was Tabnazia related. We might be nearing the end of this. We will find that Tabnazia one though, once I expand all these. Okay. Now we're gonna find it. Okay, that was that first one. Oh, they didn't answer it. We've all been to Bluebade Fell in Lufus Meadows, and that was the closest we've gotten to Tabnazia. Is there our chance we'll ever get to see this city in person? The past hustling and bustling town, or even current dragon-ridden ruins, either one would be thrilling to finally explore. Thank you very, very much for your continued effort put into such a wonderful game. Okay, that was my question. And then, will we ever get to explore Tabnazia feature in the opening movie? So they didn't answer that question. They didn't answer that. They did answer the one, though, which is really cool. So what we should do, I think, let us... I'm going to open link in new tab, though. You're not getting me a second time. And then I want to see what the other replies for this one were. Always thought I would make for an amazing raid of some kind. So I agree. I think a raid for that would be really cool. Main expansions, Treasure of Ottergon, COP, Wing Seekers, Ziller, add-ons, Rhapsody, Abyssi, Moogle, Shintoto, completed Resurgence, enough. Interesting. So you've really done like pretty much mostly all of it though. You know what's funny too? I will say about the expansions. I feel like the way it's structured, because of the Zillarts themselves, I almost in like I get there are conclusive endings, but I feel like, and especially with the mission expansion that happened, I think that was for Rise of the Zillarts. I could be wrong, but I feel like that, if I remember correctly, that's how it was. I always kind of in my head group together like 1.0, like no expansion, then Rise of the Zillart, and then COP is like one kind of like, because it really kind of makes like that epic, right? It makes like one giant story together, and then like it all wraps up with that final scene, like looking over at the Tabnazian capital. You know, and it's like it starts as it began, right? You are, and I think that's really what they were going for, right? But it's like you are the character looking at the same spot that Aldo was, looking over that city. Now, kind of bullshit that we never went, but, you know, I always really, really liked that. But I always, like I said, I always considered those three, 1.0, Rise of the Zillarts, and then Chains of Hermathia to, like, feel like one conclusive story, personally. I think even a raid would be pretty sweet for old Tabnazia. I think it'd be cool. That was a new expansion that you go through storyline missions and reclaim that area and reestablish the city once again, and maybe find some way to tie Final Fantasy. Okay, I'm not with that last part of it, but I'm totally with the rest of it. I think personally, going back to what we said earlier, probably with unused assets, that whole unused zone, that extra city, the Chocobo Forest, I think they probably got enough there. They'd have to, like, obviously write stuff and create NPCs, etc., etc. But, like, that'd be, at this point, it's like, well, if you don't have the dev budget for it, like, use what you got. Even if it's not like a full-blown expansion, charge me like $5-10 bucks. I wouldn't even mind. Wasn't the city of Tabnazia destroyed during the Crystal War? That's true, but yep, I was hoping we would get to see it active during the Wings of the Goddess content set during the Crystal War. Even now, you see dragons flying above the ruins, so it would be cool to check those out, at least. It just seems fitting that so much of the story revolves around it. It would be nice to actually see it up close. Wishful thinking. Yeah, and that's another part, too. In a way, you can almost, like, tie, I guess, some parts of Wings of the Goddess to it, to that, like, kind of grouping, but you do have the Treasures of Ottergon break. Now let's see what they said. Let's see if anyone said anything else, actually, about this. So continue this thread. Please consider this in the future. Tabnazia has been one of the places I wanted to visit, even if it is made into a high-level hunting ground. That would be even cool, too. In fact, it would make sense, right? Like, if they wanted to go the easy route, it would make sense. It's like an old destroyed place with, like, great significance. Just make it a super high-level, like, camp area. Even just as a sort of instant/battlefield area where we take part in the battle but can't actually change the past would be cool. Personally feel a ruined city dungeon with high-level monsters makes the most sense, since they have really been touching on content that's tied to a specific expansion. Tabnazia in the past would be a Wings of the Goddess storyline, which is concluded. Just in my honest opinion, of course. It's so nice to see the devs talk about Tabnazia. It got 2 mentions tonight. It got 4 mentions, actually. Like, that's how like important that is. It's funny, and they addressed the one. They said they want to see it, and then in my question, when I asked about, like, using older assets, even, and then mentioned Tabnazia, they said they were creating, like, a whole new zone that would look completely different. So that's cool. Most sense. Yeah, that does make the most sense to me as well. I'll take anything, though. Pity we never got to see it before Lightbringer blew up and blew up the region, except in that opening movie. I think it would have looked a lot like another Juno. Sacrium was always a much more interesting place to me, as in the ruin elements of Tabnazia. So I've always imagined going there to see what happened after it was overrun. Heh. Heh. Okay. We actually knocked out all of them. And it's like 1 in the morning. And I'm not... Freak, I'm talking to you. I'm not staying up till 4:30 again. They kicked my ass. I had a lot of fun. This is cool, though. Like, it's cool. We got to hang out with Yimlin. Freak, you came back. We were hanging out. And we did get some information. I think there's definitely a few takeaways with this AMA. like I said, in my question they answered, they said that they were making like a new battlefield that was like completely brand new. Someone else more directly asked the Tabnazia question, and Fujito said that he wanted to go there, or it was either Fujito or Matsui. Either way, they said that that's a place they want to go in the future. And then the whole XI and XIV sub being combined, that's something they're looking into. Like, that's a big one too. Honest to God, those are my biggest things. Like, getting new zones, Tabnazia, and the combined sub. Those are the biggest for me. Other than that, there was like some technical questions, but it seems like they were pretty hard. They were pretty hard on some of those. Pretty much saying like if they can't develop like a lot of the extra dev hours to a lot of these things, that they just weren't going to do it. Like, and I guess it's fair too, right? Because like they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, okay, do we make new content and maintain the game, or do we like make all these like unique fixes and maintain the game? Because they probably can't do all three. They probably have to pick 2 of 3. And it seems like right now they're in the new content mode, which I'm also cool with. And like he said too, yeah, it's funny, this question just kind of came up. If Matsui P had unlimited money and resources, what would be the one thing that he would like to do the most with Final Fantasy XI? I'd like to renovate our development environment, which currently relies on specialized tools. Other than that, I'd like to revamp the UI, reorganize the tutorial, release an expansion, and hold a live in-person event in the US. And that last one, he mentions the US? My man. Yeah. I think I got mostly what I was looking for out of this. I mean, we're not going to get direct answers. And it's funny. You know, it's real funny. I'm going to Google, or not going to Google. I'm going to control find the word big. So I'm actually kind of curious. Wonder if anyone mentioned the big announcement in their question. Oh, someone did ask, but they never got it answered. Hi, I'm just wondering, as a few years back, you said that you guys had something big planned for the 20th anniversary. What is it? I've eagerly been awaiting this something big, so can't wait any longer, as the anniversary is here, surely you can say. Well, they didn't answer that. It's not that. No, not that. Yeah, and then this guy asked after the question was, after the questions could be submitted. Yep, that was after 4 hours ago. I think we're almost at the end of this. Thank you for doing the AMA. For the last couple of years, us Final Fantasy XI fans have been waiting for a big announcement for the 20th anniversary. We are hoping that a Classic 75 cap era server or a remake remaster would be part of this. Is this announcement still pending? Many of us feel like we never got the big announcement, whether it had to do with Classic. Really hope this is new, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, whatever. We already know. Was this supposed to be a big... People are downvoting the shit out of them, too. Yeah, that was it. They weren't going to answer that question even if they got it, I feel like. There was one person who did ask, though, within the time frame. Actually, this is 2, because that's 6 hours ago. Was it supposed to be a big reveal for the 20th anniversary, and how do you plan to get us to... Actually, you know... That's actually not the worst question in the world. How do you plan to get us to the 100th anniversary? Many players speculated about the Final Fantasy XI remaster, level 75 server, or combined subscription with You know, this actually isn't bad. It's kind of dumb that people are downvoting this person. Subscription with Final Fantasy XIV to help bring in new players in 2022. Okay, well, we are concerned about our future. I'm not really concerned. I suppose that was maybe a mixed comment, but Anywho. All right. It's past 1 in the morning. It's 1:20. I got shit to do tomorrow, a.k.a. my job, and not get fired. No, I'm not going to be fired, but I definitely don't want to be dragging ass like I was today. In fact, I don't even know how the fuck I'm up at 1:20 right now. I'm feeling pretty good, too. I guess maybe it's the AMA hype. That being said, I think there was one thing I did want to see. Nah, that's it. Okay. All night, dude. I wish. Listen, 14's on the back burner right now. There's no more story to do and shit. And I'm ready to actually play a game I like. Although I did get, there was a game, I don't know, honest to God, I've already forgot the name of it, but it was like for $13 on the PlayStation Store, and it looked really good. It's like this, it looks like you're like a pirate or something, or like, from like the maybe early 1800s or like 1700s. It looks really cool. The graphics are really good, and I heard the story was not bad. So I might do a little of that as well in my free time. Actually, too, you know, I'm in my studio right now. I actually don't have my PlayStation connected in my studio, but I do have a capture card, and can't really see it, but right here I've got like my TV, which I use for like, sometimes I use it for editing and stuff, but I also use that bitch to play video games, you know what I'm saying? So who knows, maybe we'll be doing some PlayStation streams again. The only bad thing about those is I feel like sometimes they don't always go as well as I'd like them to. I feel like they lag because that capture, like it's the Elgato capture card, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of them personally, but what can you do? Okay. Freak, it's been real. You're a homie. I'll be chatting with you again soon, probably tomorrow. Who knows? And to the 2 other people who are still viewing me, I don't know if you're on YouTube or that other thing I'm on or what. Thanks for chilling and hanging out. And probably the other 2 people who've been kind of coming in and out.